My name is Elijah Carter, 32, founder of a software startup no one wanted to take seriously until it was too late. The pitch was set for 3 p.m. at Braxton Capital, a mid-size VC firm out of Palo Alto. Their office had that familiar sanitized tech aesthetic walnut paneling, matte black fixtures, and those pretentious moss wall installations everyone pretends are innovative. They offered me sparkling water when I arrived. I said no thank you. I already knew how this was going to go. I had rehearsed the pitch more times than I could count, but I didn't need note cards. Not when you've built the code base from scratch, tested every flow yourself, and onboarded your first 500 users one by one through cold DMs and hand-built landing pages. The product? A low-latency payment platform for microservice creators that bypassed traditional merchant fees, something most people in this room would pretend to understand just enough to nod at. The partner, Mark Eden, walked in 7 minutes late. Pressed collar, navy blazer, didn't apologize, just waved his tablet like it was a gavel. "Let's jump in," he said. So I jumped in. I spoke clearly, confidently, walked them through my traction numbers, retention rates, user testimonials, a lean 18-month roadmap. I'd been bootstrapping from the start, using savings from my old IT job and side gigs. It wasn't flashy, it was working. And yet, less than 4 minutes into the deck, Mark leaned back and crossed his arms. "So, who's the technical lead?" I paused. "I am." "No, I mean, who's the technical face? You know, the one VCs will see." I didn't respond. I let the silence answer for me. A younger associate, Dev Patel, flinched a little. He didn't look up from his iPad, but I saw his jaw shift. Maybe he understood. Maybe he just didn't want to be the next one out of a job. Mark kept going. "Look, Elijah, your deck is solid. You've clearly put in work. But let's talk founder market fit. Most fintech plays that scale quickly. They've got a certain look, certain pedigree, certain networks." I didn't ask what he meant. He wanted me to ask. I wouldn't. Another partner, a woman named Talia, chimed in. "Have you considered bringing on a co-founder with more fundraising experience? Someone who could front investor conversations?" "I've done every investor call so far." "Right," she nodded. "But if we're talking Series A, perception matters. Especially when we're the ones putting our name behind it." Mark nodded along. "Someone with a Stanford or Wharton background, just for optics." Then he said it. "Honestly, you need a white co-founder. Investors won't take you seriously solo, not at this stage." He said it like a weather report. Just facts, no offense. I didn't flinch, I didn't even blink. "Thanks for the feedback," I said, folding my laptop slowly. "Wait," Talia said, half rising. "We're not saying no, just that you might not be the face we lead with." I stood. "You just did." Dev looked up then. Briefly. I saw something in his eyes that looked like shame or regret. He didn't say a word. Mark offered his hand. I didn't take it. As I walked toward the elevator, I checked my phone. No notifications, no missed calls. I expected as much. There was someone I needed to message. Caleb. We'd met in college. White guy. Grew up in Connecticut. We'd worked on 2 hackathons together. He was quick with a joke, knew how to talk the talk. He'd offered unsolicited to be my co-founder a few weeks ago. Said he'd bring the polish. I told him I'd think about it. I messaged him. They said I need a white co-founder. Still interested? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. He didn't reply. Ever. By the time I got back to my apartment, I'd rewritten the first line of my pitch email. Deleted the words, "Appreciate your time." I sent this instead. Subject, feedback noted. "Hi Mark, thank you for today. Your comments about needing a white co-founder to be fundable were especially helpful. It clarified a lot. I won't be moving forward with Braxton. Wishing you and your team the best of luck, especially with the optics. Elijah?" I didn't reread it. I just hit send, then I turned off my phone, walked to the small bookshelf next to my couch, and pulled out an old spiral notebook. First page, blank. At the top, I wrote 1 sentence. "You have 6 months." I didn't know what that meant yet, but I knew this much. I'd rather burn than beg, and I wasn't going to be the one knocking next time. The notebook stayed on my desk. Same spot. Same sentence. Every morning I saw it before brushing my teeth. "You have 6 months." That wasn't some motivational threat. It was math. My runway. My bandwidth. My patience. When you grow up the way I did, you don't play for flash. You play for survival. I grew up in East Oakland. Mom worked for Alameda County Transit, graveyard shifts mostly. Dad was around until I was 13. Then he wasn't. Not in a tragic way. Just left. Slipped out like bad weather. He called on birthdays. Sometimes. We didn't have much, but I had an old Dell laptop Mom picked up from a pawn shop for $40. I taught myself HTML on it at 12, JavaScript at 14. Not because I wanted to be a founder, but because our public school computers crashed if you opened 2 tabs. I just wanted to make something that didn't break. I got into Stanford. That part's true. Full ride on merit. But the fine print said, room and board not included. We didn't have that kind of stretch. So I took night classes at community college instead. Worked a shift at Target, then another at the help desk at the county library. Came home, coded until sunrise, slept on the couch. I never told anyone I'd turned Stanford down. I just smiled when people assumed. Let them think what they want. The first version of my product was born on a back patio with my uncle's old folding table and a borrowed Wi-Fi connection. It was ugly, clunky. It broke often, but it worked. I got my first 10 users after spamming Reddit DMs for 3 straight weekends. No funding, no team, just sweat and fingers that cramped from typing 12 hours straight. The second version launched a week after Mom's first chemo treatment. Stage 2. Aggressive. She never complained though, just told me to keep building what you're building. She didn't understand the tech, but she understood working when your body didn't want to. She still went to her shifts until she physically couldn't stand. I coded in the hospital lobby, plugged in next to vending machines and families I'd never see again. I'd watch her sleep during the chemo drip and rewrite onboarding flows. Bug fixes between blood work. I didn't post it online. I didn't need likes. Once, a nurse asked me if I was studying for finals. I looked up and said, "No. I'm making something they said I couldn't." He didn't ask who they was, but I knew. When I was 20, I had an idea. A basic payment routing system for freelance tutors. Teachers I knew from church needed to get paid on time. No Venmo back then. So I coded something janky on Flask that could invoice parents through Stripe. It worked, word spread, and then a white kid named Owen from UC Berkeley took the code, same UI, same flow, same name, and launched TutorTrack. His version raised $250,000 in 3 months. He got covered in TechCrunch. I got a cease and desist letter. He trademarked it first. That was my first lesson. In tech, what you make matters less than who signs your cap table. I didn't fight it. I didn't have lawyers. I just built something else. My mentor was a guy named Ray Torres, former founder burnt out by Series B politics. He used to tell me, "Eli, if you look like us, don't pitch for validation. Pitch for receipts." He died 2 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. We weren't close, but he once showed up to one of my pitch meetups and told a room of 10 people why I'd be a killer CEO. That memory stuck longer than most compliments I've heard since. The month before the Braxton pitch, I got an offer from one of the Big Five to join their AI dev team. 6 figures, signing bonus, full benefits. I read the offer letter 5 times. Then I deleted the email. If I took that job, I knew I'd never leave it. I'd be just stable enough to stay quiet forever, and I was done being quiet. I remember the first time someone questioned whether I was the founder. It was a demo day in Soma. I was 26, standing next to my laptop and a poster board printed at FedEx. A man in Patagonia fleece walked up, glanced at my badge, and asked, "Are you one of the interns? Can I speak with the real team?" I said, "I am the team." He blinked once, then walked away. No feedback, no contact, just erased. It kept happening. In coffee shops, demo days, accelerators I didn't get into. They liked my numbers, my churn, my CAC, but they never liked me in the picture. I'd send warm intros, pitch decks with heat maps and clean traction curves. They'd reply, "Not sure the timing is right," while investing in identical concepts launched by someone who looked more like them. Every time it happened, I added a page to a journal. Not to vent, just to log it. Like a lab experiment. Date. Firm rejection reason. Implication. I called it the archive. I hadn't looked at it in months, but the night after Braxton, I opened it again. Their note was brief. Braxton Capital, March 3rd. Strong idea. would move forward if founder makeup was more conventional. Translation: you don't look like money. 2 days later, I recorded a 15-second video on my cracked iPhone 7. No filter, no setup. Just me, sitting on my floor in gym shorts and a hoodie. I looked straight at the camera and said, "They said I needed someone else to make this work. I said thanks. Now watch." I didn't post it, just saved it. That video wasn't for them. It was for me. That week, I built out a new sprint roadmap. Not for funding, for function. I stripped out every unnecessary feature, cut everything that didn't speak directly to my niche users. No bells, no fluff, just speed, stability, and clarity. I also reworked the backend from scratch. Late nights, Red Bull, YouTube lo-fi playlists in the background. I didn't even realize the sun was rising until I heard the first train groan past the window. When it crashed, I didn't panic. When it lagged, I rewrote the logic. When the load time hit 700 milliseconds, I optimized the API stack until it hit 90. Every small win was a scream I didn't let out. One night, after shipping the new release, I scrolled through my Twitter bookmarks. I saw a thread from a white founder bragging about raising $1.7 million pre-revenue with a team of visionaries. The product? A repackaged version of my old MVP. Same words, same pitch, no code base, just a different face. I sat with that for a long time, not angry, just still. Then I reached for the notebook. New page. March 10th. They'll see. That was it. 3 words. I didn't need a war room. I didn't need revenge. I just needed results. And time. 6 months. That was the deadline. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. Some days I worked 12 hours and still felt behind. Other days I stared at the screen for 30 minutes before writing a single line of code. Momentum didn't come from motivation. It came from repetition, from stubbornness, from the fact that I had already burned every other bridge on purpose. I didn't post updates. I didn't talk about grind culture. I didn't owe anyone a journey, but that didn't stop the world from talking around me. I found out about the clone by accident. It was late April, a Thursday. I had just finished pushing a new update to the dashboard, improved latency on mobile, shaved load times by another 70 milliseconds. My hands were still stiff from typing when I opened Twitter, just to let my brain breathe. That's when I saw it. A founder I recognized, Matt Laird. White guy, MBA face. His pinned tweet was a photo of him and 2 co-founders standing in front of a whiteboard full of monetization funnels and buzzwords. The caption read, "Huge day. Excited to announce $2.2 million seed round to bring instant payments to creators worldwide. Let's build." The startup? Sparker. I clicked the link. One scroll through the landing page and I felt the slow warmth of nausea. Same functionality, same UX flow, same tagline I had written on my bedroom wall 2 years ago. Empowering independence through fast, fair payment. They hadn't even changed the damn wording. But it wasn't just what I saw, it was who I saw. In the press photo, Matt stood front and center, flanked by a guy from a previous YC cohort and another with product at Stripe in his bio, all smiling, all clean, confident, born-funded. Their investors? Braxton Capital. Same firm that told me 6 weeks ago that I wasn't the right face for the market. They didn't just take my idea. They replicated it and funded the shadow version with the right optics. I stared at the screen for 10 full minutes. Not rage, not shock, just silence. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, and looked at the mirror. Steam from the kettle had fogged the corners. I wiped it clean and stared at my reflection. Hair, slightly overgrown, eyes bloodshot. Same hoodie I'd been wearing for 3 days. I opened the drawer below the sink, pulled out a dry erase marker and wrote, September 3rd. 6 months from the day they told me no. 6 months from the day I walked out of their office and decided I wouldn't crawl back. I didn't know what would happen on that date. But I would be ready. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to tweet. I wasn't going to explain. I was going to build. And then I was going to answer the question before they asked it. My birthday came a week later. 33rd. No party, no dinner, no calls except my mom's. She sang off-key into the phone from her treatment bed, told me she was proud of me, even though she didn't really understand what I did. I didn't correct her when she said I fixed internet stuff. She never needed to know the code, just the effort. That night, I ate leftover Thai from the fridge and stared at the blinking cursor of a blank terminal window, Then I started rewriting my deck. Not for them, for me. I stripped it of everything performative. No hype slides, no jargon, just data, product, and results. Page 1. Screenshot of dashboard metrics, organic growth curve, retention rates, transaction velocity. Page 2. User testimonials, unfiltered, screenshots. One read, "This app is the only reason I could pay rent this month. No holds, no fees, just real." Page 3. Roadmap, clear, linear, scalable. No AI integrations, just functionality. Page 4. No ask, no funding slide, no pitch, no valuation. Just one sentence at the bottom. "We don't need your capital, but you might need our growth." I saved the deck, closed the laptop. Next morning, I erased the September 3rd date on the mirror and wrote a new line beneath it. Be undeniable. A week later, I wiped the old code base clean and started from scratch. It wasn't broken, but it wasn't fast enough. Not to outrun the funded clone. I moved to a new co-working space, $140 a month, 2 blocks from an old warehouse I used to unload crates in during college. Now I parked in front of it in a second-hand Corolla with a cracked dashboard and a busted air vent. I worked in silence. No calls, no social, no Slack channels buzzing with fake hustle. Just me and the product. I built for users, not VCs, not journalists, not traction porn threads. Every night, I walked home past the same coffee shop where a friend once told me, "You gotta play the game to win the game." He was half right. I just chose a different game. Mid-May, I got an email from Alex, an old developer friend who worked at a mid-sized payment startup. Subject line: "You seen this?" It was a screenshot of Sparker's backend system leaked by an anonymous source in a dev Slack. The system was riddled with bugs, payment misfires, user support backlog. Their instant payment claim was actually a repackaged Stripe Express form with a 3-day processing delay. They had raised $2.2 million to clone a product they couldn't even make work. I replied simply, "Yep." I didn't laugh. I didn't celebrate. I got back to work. 2 days later, I pushed the new release. The app was now 80% faster, 30% cheaper for users, and had 0 processing delay. I didn't email any investors. I emailed every early user who had ever left feedback, every customer who had stuck around despite early bugs, every creator who had tweeted appreciation without being asked to. Subject line: "We heard you. It's better now." 3 days later, one of them posted a TikTok walking through the new dashboard. The video hit 20,000 views overnight. Then someone reposted it to Reddit. Then someone wrote a thread on X, Twitter, I still call it Twitter, comparing my app to Sparker. Title: "Why Elijah's app just made their $2 million clone obsolete." I didn't respond, but I saw it. I bookmarked it, and I added a new note to my whiteboard. You don't need a headline, just a result. By the end of May, our MAUs had tripled. By mid-June, we were profitable. I still didn't tweet. I still didn't post updates. I just circled the date on the mirror again. September 3rd. Let them come. By June, the mirror in my bathroom had 3 things on it. September 3rd. Be undeniable, you don't need a headline. Just a result. Everything else had been wiped clean. I'd stopped counting the hours I worked. Sleep became something that happened when my body forced it. I wasn't burning out. I wasn't even pushing. I was just focused, cold and clear, like walking through fog and knowing the road by heart even when you couldn't see it. No investors, no co-founder, no shortcuts, just me. And people were starting to notice. Not the kind that get press, the right kind. It started with an email. Subject: "Referral from Lena. Hope that's okay." It was from Kayla, a UX designer who had worked on a few D2C apps. Lena, one of my earliest power users, had shown her our onboarding flow. Kayla said she had never seen conversion rates like that and asked if I needed any help with accessibility design. She wasn't offering VC intros or LinkedIn clout. She was offering skill. I told her I couldn't pay much. She said, "Just cover my rent and let me build something that works." 2 days later, she joined part-time. She rebuilt our dashboard UI in a week, added color contrast toggles, fixed our mobile nav. When I posted the updated build to our test users, the responses came back fast. This feels like something built for me. Finally, an app that doesn't assume I have perfect eyesight. Tell whoever made this I owe them dinner. I screenshotted each one, sent them to Kayla. She didn't say much, just a smiley face and a "told you" Then came Luis. He used to run ops at a fintech company that scaled too fast and imploded. Someone I met in a forgotten Slack channel years ago. He reached out randomly, said he'd been watching what I was building. I know I can help. You don't need to hire me, just give me a login. 3 weeks later, our user support ticket response time dropped by 80%. Refunds processed automatically. I didn't even know he'd added that logic until it worked. I built tools for overpaid founders who didn't care, he told me over Zoom. Feels good building for someone who does. That meant more than any check ever could. We weren't a startup. We were a rebellion. No titles, no hierarchy, just contributors. And none of it was public. We didn't update LinkedIn. We didn't post behind-the-scenes videos. We didn't chase followers. We chased clarity. And clarity, it turns out, converts. Late June, a Reddit thread popped up on our creators. Can we talk about how Elijah's app is the only one that actually pays us on time? I didn't post in it, but I read every comment. 47 replies in 12 hours. Someone wrote, "The new Stripe? Nah. Better. Black-owned. Built different." The comment got upvoted 1.4K times. And that was when I knew we were past escape velocity. No seed funding. No PR blast. Just results. I didn't call it a win. I called it Wednesday. My old GitHub repo? Archived. New one. Private. Contributor access. 3 people. Each one chosen not for polish, but for precision. We deployed updates every Sunday night. Called them shadow drops. No one knew. The users just felt the difference. By July, we crossed 50,000 MAUs. By August, we were profitable at scale. I paid Kayla double. Luis refused more money, so I sent him a new MacBook instead. He called me and said, "I haven't cried over a package since my kid was born." Then came the email from Mason. Mason ran an event series for early-stage founders. I had applied to pitch there twice before. Both times, I was rejected. Now, he asked if I'd be interested in keynoting. He said he'd heard through the grapevine that we were building something game-changing. I wrote back, "Appreciate the offer, my plate's full, but feel free to include us in your ones-to-watch list like you didn't last time." He didn't reply, didn't need him to. Around mid-August, I finally bought a new desk chair, not because I needed it. Because my old one had cracked down the middle from leaning too hard for too long. When it arrived, I didn't film an unboxing. I just sat down, opened my dashboard, and watched our payment volume cross 7 figures, quietly, with no press release, no Medium post, no tweet thread. That weekend, a VC associate named Erica emailed me. She said her partner had come across our platform and was impressed by the traction, said we had strong founder market fit. She asked if I'd be open to a quick chat about a potential pre-Series A round. I looked up her firm, Braxton Capital, same one that told me I needed a white co-founder, same partner Mark still listed as lead on the Sparker deal. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I opened the video I'd recorded months earlier. 15 seconds. No edits. Just me. They said I needed someone else to make this work. I said thanks. Now watch. I finally posted it. Just that video. No caption, no hashtags, no context. It got 82,000 views in 24 hours. I muted the notifications. I had work to do. The night before September 3rd, I walked into the office bare bones, rented space above a closed florist's shop. Kayla was still there, sketching something on the whiteboard. Luis was asleep on the couch, hoodie over his eyes. I looked around. No neon signs, no kombucha fridge, no pitch decks pinned on the wall. Just builders, just believers, and more traction than any of them thought we could pull without the right look. I walked into the bathroom, wiped the mirror clean one last time, wrote a single word. Ready. On the morning of September 3rd, I brewed cheap coffee in a cracked French press and stared at the mirror. No more scribbles, just one word. Ready. I wasn't nervous, I wasn't excited, I was finished. The kind of finished that doesn't need applause, the kind that doesn't knock on doors, it builds its own entrance. At 10:14 a.m., I received the first email. Subject, circling back. Sparker plus bridge round? It was from Talia, partner at Braxton Capital. The same woman who told me, perception matters, while suggesting I bring in a white co-founder. She wrote, "Mamas, hi Elijah, hope you're doing well. We've been keeping an eye on your progress, very impressed with how quickly your platform has scaled. We're reaching out to see if there's any interest in a possible partnership or capital infusion, especially given the recent shakeups at Sparker. We believe there's real synergy between what you're doing and our broader investment strategy. Would love to connect and explore possibilities. Let us know. Talia. I didn't reply. Not yet. 10 minutes later, another email. This time from Mark. Subject: congrats on the Traction Quick call? Elijah, didn't get a chance to connect earlier, but just wanted to say congrats on what you're building. Sparker's had some unfortunate product hurdles, and we're currently exploring bridge round opportunities to consolidate some of our portfolio investments. If you're open, we'd love to chat about a potential merger, or at least some kind of collaboration. There's real momentum behind your platform, and we think it could be a win-win. Let me know. Mark, I stared at the email for a long time. A month ago, Sparker's app had gone down mid-demo for a major client. Word had spread fast. Developers had left. Support tickets were unanswered. Influencers they paid to promote were now dragging them on Twitter for false promises. It took them $6 million and a press team to fail at what I did with 2 friends and 1 broken chair. Now they were asking for help. I clicked reply. Then I stopped. Not yet. Let them sweat. That afternoon, Kayla poked her head into my workspace. You look like you're about to commit a crime, she said. I nodded, just debating whether or not to be merciful. Luis, sitting on the floor, munching dry cereal, muttered, "Mercy's overrated." I smiled. At 5:02 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mark. His voice was as calm as it was that day in the boardroom. Elijah, he said, glad I caught you. I didn't say anything. We're aware of where we went wrong. I'll be honest with you. We backed the wrong horse. Sparker isn't recoverable, but what you've done, it's incredible. Thanks, I said flatly. I'm here to say we're sorry. Really. And we'd love to make it right. Not just with capital, but with support. Network, distribution, advisors. We can elevate what you're doing to the next level. I paused, then asked, You offering me a term sheet? Something better, he said. A merger. We'd fold the Sparker IP and user base into your system, give you access to their remaining runway, and keep you as head of product CTO. With equity, of course. CTO. Not CEO. Not even co. Just back in a technical box. He kept talking. We'd back you this time. Real money. Real reach. You'd get the platform. We'd get the optics we should have had from the start. Everyone wins. I let him finish. Then I said quietly, You think I built this just to get back in your room? He chuckled awkwardly. Elijah, don't be emotional. Let's think long term. I'm not emotional, I said, my voice flat. I'm efficient. He tried again. Let's put the past behind us. You've proven your point. Now let's make this bigger. I took a breath. Then I said, I'll offer you what you offered me. Silence. Nothing, I said. Not a seat, not a share, not even a second thought. He exhaled through his nose, like he'd just been told his flight was canceled. Elijah, this isn't a good look. I hung up. I opened the Braxton email, clicked reply all, typed, Talia, Mark, thanks for reaching out. When I came to your office, you said I needed a white co-founder to be fundable, that investors wouldn't take me seriously. I took that seriously. Since then, we've scaled 3x, become profitable, and done it without outside capital. I appreciate the reminder of your original offer. I'm returning it now. Nothing. Best, Elijah. I read it twice, not to perfect it, just to savor it. Then I hit send. Luis looked over from his laptop. You good? I nodded. They came back. What did you tell them? I smiled. Told them exactly what they told me. Kayla leaned back in her chair. Brutal. Just honest, I said. Then I went back to work. We had another release to prep. 2 days after the email, I woke up to my name trending. I hadn't posted anything. I hadn't said a word since the reply, but someone had leaked it. Not the whole message, just the last line. Screenshotted and cropped. I'm returning your offer. Nothing. Elijah Carter. They called it savage, ruthless, cold. The kind of takedown you see in movies, not inboxes. People started stitching it with their own stories of rejection. Humor founders. Of Color was trending by noon. I didn't retweet. I didn't comment. I opened the fridge, poured leftover coffee into a chipped mug, and sat on the floor beside my desk. My apartment didn't have a couch. I'd sold it the week before to cover Luis's bonus. It was worth it. The messages flooded in, emails, LinkedIn requests, DMs from strangers saying they'd never seen someone say what we all felt. Investors trying to save face by praising my clarity. Journalists asking for statements. I didn't give one. Let the silence speak louder than the headline. That night, a tech journalist I half knew from Twitter wrote an article. Elijah Carter didn't burn the bridge. He rebuilt the road. The story detailed the timeline, the rejection, the growth, the bridge round plea, the reply. Everything was sourced from unnamed insiders. They quoted my email. They called me the anti-hero the startup world needed. I wasn't flattered. I was amused, because I never wanted to be anyone's hero. I just wanted them to stop asking if I needed help every time I walked into the room. Sparker announced their shutdown 2 days later. A one-paragraph statement buried under a PR email blast that began with, "In light of recent challenges." No apology. No transparency. Just silence. The irony didn't escape me. They had $6 million, 3 founders, and a head start. I had a notebook, 2 friends, and a bathroom mirror. We weren't even in the same race. By the end of September, our waitlist crossed 120,000. We had to pause signups to stabilize the servers. Kayla redesigned the landing page. Luis built an auto-scaling logic that rerouted traffic based on region. I sat in the corner, cleaning up back-end error logs with headphones on, listening to ambient noise loops and sipping instant noodles between comments. No one celebrated. We just kept building. One of my oldest mentors, Clarence, a black founder who exited quietly in 2015, called me out of the blue. "I saw the email," he said. "About time someone said it." I asked him how he was doing. He chuckled. "I'm retired, still mad, but retired." I asked if he ever regretted stepping back. He paused. "Every day, but I also remember what it took out of me. You're doing it different, quieter, smarter." "I don't feel smart," I said. "Good," he replied. "The ones who think they are always crash first." Then he said something that stuck. "Don't let their apology become your invitation." I didn't ask what he meant. I knew. A few weeks later, I got an invite to a panel at TechCrunch Disrupt. They wanted me to sit beside VCs and talk about diversity and funding. I declined, not because I was angry, because I wasn't a diversity story. I was a product story. Every time someone asked me for a quote, I sent the same line. "We're focused on shipping, not explaining." Eventually, they stopped asking. That fall, 3 startups tried copying our model. None succeeded. One of them was run by a guy who used to laugh at me at local pitch nights. I remember him snorting when I said I was building for creators outside the top 1%. His copycat app lasted 6 weeks. No traction, no community, no depth. Because what we built wasn't just product. It was pain, transformed into design. By October, we were in talks with 2 global payment networks for integrations. They came to us, not with checks, with respect. Luis handled the calls. Kayla prepped the documentation. I just made sure we didn't break during deployment. We didn't. Mom called me during one of the late nights. "I saw your face in a magazine at the chemo center," she said, her voice scratchy. I smiled. "Hope it wasn't the mugshot edition." She laughed, then coughed. "They said you're the future of payments." I told her I wasn't. "I'm just a guy who couldn't afford late fees," she said. "That's exactly why you are." I stayed up that night, opened the original notebook. The first page still read, "You have 6 months." I turned to the last page, wrote, "You didn't need 6, you just needed to stop asking." It was mid-November. The air in Oakland had turned sharp cold enough to remind you winter wasn't a metaphor anymore. I had just finished clearing bug reports when I got the message. Not an email, not a DM, a handwritten card, delivered to our office mailbox in an envelope with my name on it. No return address. Inside, dinner at Delancey's. Thursday, 7 p.m. Let's talk. I didn't need to guess who M was. There weren't many people who wrote with that kind of entitlement anymore. Mark. The same Mark who told me I didn't look like a CEO, the same Mark who offered me a CTO seat as a consolation prize, the same Mark who now months later was asking for dinner. I put the card on the windowsill and didn't touch it for hours. Kayla noticed it while making coffee. Is that what I think it is? I nodded. He wants to talk. Luis snorted from behind his screen. Talk about what? How to lose $1 billion in 3 slides? I smiled, but I didn't say anything, because a part of me was curious. Not because I needed anything, but because I finally had the leverage to walk into the room on my terms. No decks, no desperation, no smile to soften their discomfort. Delancey's was in the marina. White linen, quiet jazz, waiters who memorized wine notes. The kind of place I'd once studied from the sidewalk, pretending I wasn't hungry. Now I walked in wearing an old bomber jacket and boots, still scuffed from code sprints. I didn't need to play the part anymore. I was the part. Mark was already seated. Same Patagonia vest, same overgroomed confidence. He stood to shake my hand. I didn't. Appreciate you coming, he said. I didn't say I was staying. He gestured to the empty seat. Just hear me out. I sat. Not because I wanted to, but because silence sometimes cuts deeper than words. He started with compliments. Your numbers are insane. Organic growth like that? We haven't seen it since the early days of Cash App. I sipped water. Didn't reply. He shifted. We fumbled. I know that, and I'm not here to excuse it. I raised an eyebrow. You're not here to fund anything either. So why am I here? He exhaled. Because Braxton wants back in. I almost laughed. He continued. You're building something category-defining. We've missed the wave, but we don't want to miss the ocean. He slid a folder across the table. Inside, a term sheet. $5 million. At a valuation 5 times what they would have offered a year ago. No board seat, no control clauses, just capital. He said, we don't need to own you. We just want to be part of the ride. I closed the folder. Why now? Because the market's waking up, and we know you don't need us, which is exactly why you're worth betting on. I leaned back. And when I did need you? He didn't answer, didn't blink, just sat there, still. I looked out the window. Boats docked in quiet rhythm. A couple laughed 3 tables down. The jazz track shifted to Coltrane. I turned back to him. You ever wonder what it's like, I said, to be invisible in a room full of people who shake hands with your idea but never look at your face? He swallowed. I didn't wait for a response. Every line of code, every bug I fixed at 3 a.m., every time I built a feature after holding my mom's hand through chemo, I did that alone. Not to prove you wrong, but to prove I didn't need you to be right. He opened his mouth. I raised my hand. You said I needed a white co-founder to be taken seriously. I took that seriously. More seriously than you ever meant it. And I built something so undeniable even your silence came back asking for equity. He sighed. We're offering you respect. You're offering me retroactive permission, I said. And I've already moved past needing that. The waiter brought the check. Mark reached for it. I stopped him. I invited myself, I said. I'll pay. I left cash. No tip, not for him. For the waiter, I handed it direct. On my way out, I paused. You asked to be part of the ride, I said over my shoulder. Mark looked up. You missed it, I said. We're already airborne. Back in the office, Kayla was sketching wireframes. Luis had passed out on the couch again. I hung my jacket, sat down, opened Slack, typed, let's drop the new rollout at midnight. No announcement. Kayla replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Luis snored. We pushed live at 12:03 a.m. Within 5 hours, our servers hit an all-time high in concurrent sessions. I muted notifications, turned off my phone, and watched the numbers climb. No pitch deck, no dinner meetings, just code and consequence. I bought the building in silence. No announcement, no press release, just a wire transfer, a signature, and a key mailed to a P.O. box I'd been using since college. It used to be a warehouse. Now, a hub, a home. Top floor co-working space turned studio. Middle floor design, back-end, whiteboards covered in scribbles and half-erased epiphanies. Bottom floor open community sessions every Thursday, where creators came to eat, plug in, and figure out what the hell they were building next. No lanyards, no badges, no pitch us your dream signs, just power strips, coffee, and quiet. People built better that way. I didn't tell anyone it was mine. They found out when the city records updated. Twitter threads popped up the next day. Wait, Elijah Carter just bought the whole building where his first pop-up launched? That's insane. They wouldn't let him in the club, so he bought the land next door and built one. Someone else wrote, "This isn't just revenge, this is architecture." That month, I saw Mark again, not in a restaurant, in my lobby. He didn't have a meeting. He wasn't on the list. He just showed up. The front desk guy, a kid named Javi who used to run freelance gigs on our app, buzzed me. "Hey, there's this dude down here in a vest and leather shoes looking like he owns the place. He says he's here to talk." I didn't hesitate. "Tell him it's a private building." Javi paused. "You sure?" He said his name was Mark Eden. "Exactly why," I said. I walked down just to make sure. He was standing there, staring at the mission statement printed on the wall. "We build tools for people who don't wait for permission." He turned when he heard me. "Elijah," he said, like we were still mid-conversation. I just looked at him. He gestured around. "This place is incredible. It works." He nodded. "I can see that." Then, as if it was casual, I was hoping we could talk again. Not about capital, just the future, where this could go. I stared at him for a moment. "You said I needed someone to open doors for me," I said. "Turns out I just needed to build my own entrance." He exhaled. "I was wrong." I nodded. "Yes." Silence hung. Then he asked softly, "Is there any space left? Any role we could play in what you're building now?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gloat. I just said, "You're in the wrong building." He didn't argue, didn't protest. He just stood there for a second, then walked out, didn't look back. I never saw him again. 2 weeks later, I walked through the building during one of our Thursday nights. A creator was teaching video editing in a side room. A father was sitting with his daughter explaining how to budget for her first gig. In the kitchen, Luis was laughing so hard at something Kayla said, he spilled soup down his hoodie. I looked around. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't loud. But it was ours, built without shortcuts, without noise, without permission, just one line of code at a time. A kid came up to me while I was fixing a wobbly chair, maybe 19. Nervous. "Are you the Elijah Carter?" he asked. I smiled. "I think so." He held up his phone, showed me a TikTok someone made of the email I sent Braxton months ago. "Dude," he whispered, like we were in church, "you're the reason I told my school advisor I'm not majoring in business anymore." I laughed. "What are you majoring in?" He smiled. "Rejection." Later that night, I stayed back after the lights went out, sat alone in the same room where we first mocked up the dashboard on a pizza box. I pulled out the notebook, the one I used to carry in my backpack everywhere. First page, "You have 6 months." Last page, "Already filled." So I turned to the inside cover, wrote in all caps, "You needed me to believe you were the gate. I built the city around you." And when I walked out the door that night, no one clapped, no one cheered. And that was exactly how I wanted it, because I wasn't finished, I was just free. That's all for this story. I'll be back with another one. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It motivates me to create more content like this.